have a special story. And before we talk about the platform you're creating, I just wanted to dive into that. You had a unique upbringing in the way that you were homeschooled with no set curriculum till college, if I am correct. Can you put in a nutshell what kind of impact this had on you when you look back now on this time?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate to have been able to grow up with so much freedom and kind of confidence to lead my own path, follow my passions, and really, I got to live without having to take tests and homework and get to, we mentioned nature earlier, but really got to spend a lot of my time out in the woods exploring, creating, building, experimenting, tinkering. So it really just gives me a lot of freedom and a different approach to the world.
So between age, whatever, 1 and 18, you never took any tests, maybe driver's license, but.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, once I decided I was going to go to college for sure, started taking a few community college classes for like advanced math and a few things to figure out what actually taking tests and homework meant. But yeah, other than that, it was all, we consider ourselves unschooled.
Wow. So fascinating. And I also, and I hope this is not too much of a personal question, but, and I haven't asked you this in when we prepared for today, why do you have 2 X's in your first name, not just one, like the majority of the Maxes out there?
You got to have something that makes it unique. My mom actually was going to name me officially Max with 2 X's, and last minute changed it to Maxwell, but I always grew up as Max with 2 X's is how I wrote it. I kind of like thinking of the last X as a variable for well too, if you want a nerd joke.
As a variable for?
Maxwell for the second half of the word.
Got it. Very cool. Is it in your passport though? Did you take that step?
I've been thinking about it for years, but no, it's officially Maxwell. Yeah.
I think we are very curious in the open community. We encourage Maxx Berkowitz to change his name officially. I think it's really cool to have 2 X's and stand out. We had an amazing event with Jeremiah Moss, the author of Vanishing New York and Feral City, a couple of weeks ago in New York City. And his last words were, "Don't be normal." So kudos to everybody out there who's not normal, and kudos to all Maxes that add something to their first names. So now help us understand, before we dive into Nowhere, the platform that you're building. And I'm aware that everybody might have a different answer to this, but what is the metaverse? How do you define that?
So the way I've defined it, and there's many different definitions and ways to go about it, but a virtual space in 3D where you can do all kinds of things that you would do in normal life or on the web as well. So, gathering, presenting, showing things, working. So a virtual somewhere.
So it's accurate to say that it's kind of like so they had those Web 1 where we all had like these like 2D web pages, and then there was Web 2, of course, when it became social and interconnected, and now Web 3 could maybe be a web that we can actually like walk around. It's like a 3-dimensional version of the internet that helps us to whatever we do and physically we can do in a 3-dimensional space. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, it's bringing in the 3rd dimension into how we're thinking about everything. Matthew Ball had a good definition on what the metaverse was, that it's a massively scaled interoperable network of real-time rendered 3D virtual worlds that can be expressed synchronously and presently.
How's that for a community college class? That's quite an extensive definition. John, who is our master of quotes, he sometimes pulls them in under a second. Just shared something from Tim Sweeney, who is one of, I think, of the leading game developers, who said this metaverse is going to be far more pervasive and powerful than anything else. and if one central company gains control of this, they will become more powerful than any government and be a god on earth. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, this is exactly what you read in sci-fi novels, and it's kind of, the metaverse comes from, like, that term comes from sci-fi. So I do think that there is that kind of dystopian future that is dangerous. And I do think, the idea of, like, right now we talk about having multiple metaverses, but technically the idea of the metaverse is it's one singular entity that everything is kind of connected to. So I like to think of what we have right now as microverses that will, I think eventually, like you said, will be one metaverse that everything connects into.
Interesting.
And yeah, hopefully that's not some big evil corp, but we shall see.
And also, and Jace, so good to see you both together on Remote Daily here. Thanks for joining today. And just I suggested the second X in your name could stand for experiential.
Ooh, I like it.
I like that too. And it brings me to the next question, because you just shared with us that you grew up, you called it unschooled. You grew up in the nature. You're now living again in nature. You're obviously very much connected to earth, to like physical things. Also, you're a designer, so you're used to like crafting things and visually exploring things. What made you build, after working in advertising and working with big companies, what made you build your own metaverse?
Yeah, I mean, so I'd actually, from advertising, I had gone into really building a lot more immersive experiences, like physical shows, and I really, I got a little bit tired of building flat websites and 360 campaigns that started feeling repetitive. And what are you doing to help the world? And so I've been working mostly in kind of physical spaces for about 5 years before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, obviously all that work kind of went out the window. And so we got a group of people who were working around that industry. My co-founders and I put this together, and we're trying to decide what we could do to help people in the pandemic. And among many ideas and things that we did, one of the big ones came out of like, how do we build a better place to socialize online? And part of that, we were actually working or putting together an in-world conference called Civic Signals that's run by Eli Pariser, which is now, he changed the name to New Public. If you're interested in building healthier digital public spaces online, you should follow New Public. Really interesting stuff. So when we had to bring that conference online, then we started looking around of like, all right, what are the options that we could do? And they were either kind of like avatar-based things that were more immersive, or they were kind of flatland Zoom-like structures. And I'm sure we've all been to many Zoom birthday parties where your crazy Uncle Steve just talks your ear off and you don't actually get to talk to your friends. And at the time, no one had brought video and kind of 3D spaces together. And so we wanted to make, take those ideas of making a healthier digital public space online and bringing together, making it a more accessible place where people who aren't quite ready to embrace avatars can actually take advantage of the 3D spaces and spatial audio. And so that's where the idea came from.
So do you, before we have a first look, why do you not like avatars? So why do you make a point in saying it needs to be our faces, even if your beard might be artificial? We'll find out later.
So I think there's a plenty of people, especially who are like into gaming, that are very comfortable in avatars. They love the anonymity that they bring. But right now, I think avatars there's that uncanny valley thing. You lose a lot of body language and micro expressions that you get through video. And so I think that it's a much more approachable and real feeling through what you get through video. I do think we're getting closer, and maybe in 10 years I'll have a very different feeling about avatars where we're getting micro expressions and textures actually look real versus getting that kind of weird mapped look that you get now.
Amazing. So you want people to connect on a human level without masks in a way. In this new Web3 that is being built at the moment, the microverses as you call them. And I would invite you, Max, to share your screen with us and take us into first of all a little teaser for Nowhere, where I think you show off the design capabilities, the kind of spaces, and give a little feeling of the vibe. Don't forget to click share sound, always a classic. And we are now embarking on, we're departing departing into Nowhere first with a video, and then with a live demo from Max. Max, are you ready?
I am. I don't have share.
Oh, classic. Fatima will grant you with screen sharing rights, I think, and then we can get started. While we do so, is there something you can share about how you are actually financing this? Because it's very expensive to build. You have to hire developers and more designers than just you, and obviously market it and build a platform, buy server capacity and all that. So did you go to your friends and family and raise money, or how did you do that in the midst of the pandemic?
Yeah, we started with a friends and family round. We did discounted safe notes, and then we raised a seed round a year ago, or 2 Julys ago, and then we're now about to we're working on a Series A that we're about to do.
Wow. Okay. So the funding keeps coming, that's good news. 2 Julys ago. I really like that impression.
Yeah,
I think I'll use that. So let's look into Nowhere together. The screen is coming up to you.
Gathering online has been unremarkable, but the future is now here. Welcome to Nowhere, a place where you can be truly present in video chat with the fun and adventure of gaming. Be more present with friends and family, more aligned with your team, more connected with fans, and make new friends.
I'm in Mountain View, California.
Meet in the Metaverse in seconds. No download, no headset. Just 2 clicks to join a team meeting.
It's made to be an app. And then you get responses.
Or network above the Alps. Laugh with top comics, live stream to thousands.
That was really sweet.
Explore music festivals, sell your merch, or drop your NFTs. Select from inspiring spaces from amphitheaters or art galleries to social clubs and intimate spaces. Customize them to suit your needs or even build your own. Depart Flat Earth. Go Nowhere.
Depart Flat Earth. So great. Congratulations on what you're building there, Max. It looks very impressive. And while you're ramping up to actually show us the platform, I would just ask you to take us on a little demo to understand what you are building while we see your screen. So while you're preparing for that, do you have a favorite place in Nowhere where you hang out every day?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of jump around to different worlds depending on where we go. But this world that I'm taking you in now is the middle of Nowhere. This is kind of the central spawn point to the whole world. And hey, look, this is our co-founder, John. John, say hello to Remote Daily.
What's up, Remote Daily?
Wow.
How are you?
He can probably not hear me, but that's pretty amazing.
Oh, I can't hear them.
So
Can't hear you.
Hi, John.
They say hi. So yeah, in Nowhere sounds all spatial. So the further away we get from others. Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, be quiet. And then it's all spatial. So people from coming out of your left ear on your left come out of your left ear, and right come out of your right ear.
Yo.
And so that really helps you feel like, I'm gonna take him around, John. I'll see you around.
All right, have fun. I just pinged you about Frame, FYI.
All right, cool. Thanks. So yeah, so having that spatial audio really makes you feel much more present. You can kind of go around, people that are a little bit off in the distance. You can feel like you're at a party, and so that really helps. And so in this world, we've got different spaces, and spaces dictate behavior. So we feel that the different worlds can help you kind of make the right mood and set intentions for what you want to do. And so like in this world, you can ride a Ferris wheel together. There's you can have a performance up in the blimp. There's a little race game. So there's lots of different things you could do. And the whole goal is to make this stuff easy. So you can quickly upload images. You can add links to, if you want to sell, merch or NFTs or things. And yeah, so
fantastic. Max, I want to point you at something that came just up in the chat, I think. And this is the new update of Zoom made this harder again. It is something that we already had solved early in the pandemic. The Zoom window actually seems to gray out a part of the right of your screen. So if there's a chance to move that out of your demo, then we will see the right part as well. Yes, perfect. We have a little gray bar still on top, but that's probably where your sound sits from Zoom. So that is just Zoom making it a little bit more tricky again to screen share. And John just said maybe this is where all the missing dark matter in the universe is. So we will still can see how beautiful this world is. Is there how big is the team right now? We just met your co-founder. How many people are working on Nowhere at this moment?
Yeah, we have 10 full-time employees right now, and there's a handful of other freelancers that help run events and do some social and stuff like that.
Now, something that has come up as criticism of these microverses, as you call them, is that they all exist now and there's events and all that, but actually few people hang out there. How many people gather in Nowhere on a daily basis on average?
Yeah, I mean, it changes a bunch. We have generally around 60 to 100 daily active users, but it's very event-based is what we've seen our platform. So like this world was built by Brazilian Immersive Fashion Week, and so they've been running events. This was I think it was their third year of running events with us. So they had hundreds of people coming into the platform for their main show, and then they've had like pitch events they've had like 40 to 50 people, and so it really varies. But it's hard to get people to go into the metaverse or come back on their computers after a long day.
Of course.
So
I imagine, and also I was wondering, like in general, what are the biggest challenges in actually keeping the space running and keeping people engaged, and what are the biggest challenges for Nowhere, for running Nowhere on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think figuring out how to make a very complex product easy for people to access, because it's very intimidating to think about the metaverse, how to get people to come back, feel comfortable. And then I think one of the biggest challenges we've faced over the entire time is that technical challenges of, especially being browser based, and we're kind of pushing the limits of what a browser could do, and then trying to it's like, all right, let's work on old iPhones and bad internet connections all over the world. So a challenge of trying to make the best experience, but also one that everyone can join.
And it's even a miracle that you can be on Zoom and in your metaverse at the same time. This alone is a lot of processing power that your laptop, your computer needs at that moment to be in these spaces simultaneously. But there's also actual users of Nowhere here in the room. I just seeing Mary's comment here in the chat. I meet there to show clients my artwork. Mary, that is fantastic. Mary, if you want to join the conversation, come on camera and tell us more about this, please do. It's fascinating. And while you're considering that, you just said something, you just mentioned a word, Max, that is intimidating. And I think that is a very, very important thing to talk about, because these platforms, I mean, you, the builder, you know how to maneuver, you know how to manage them, but they are intimidating and they all have different user experiences, user interfaces. So what is most important for people to know when you start entering a new microverse or new metaverse? Like, what's the best and most important thing to do first? Sorry.
You know, everyone, all of them tried to give you a little bit of onboarding. So trying to give a second to read like how to get around. But generally the controls are pretty similar. You're going to use your WASD keys or arrow keys. So really, I think don't write it off right off the bat. Give it a few minutes, even if you feel a little bit overwhelmed or trying to figure stuff out. Often just like feeling it out for a couple of minutes, it'll start to make more sense.
I have to say, I want to go back. So if you want to share your screen again for the next two questions I still have, I would love to see more of Nowhere. Is there maybe another kind of environment that looks completely different to the one you showed us before that you can take us to? Because I imagine you have built very, very diverse spaces, actually. So now you're taking us where?
Let's see. Well, we can go. Actually, yeah. So this we built this space for a musician named Andrew McMahon, who he was part of Jack's Mannequin back in the day, and so this space was built around his music video, which has all kinds of crazy things floating around like this world does. And so this he had hosted like an AMA. That we have a photo booth over here where you could pop in and take a picture on part of his screen, a little like step and repeat. And then this one, this was for a song release. And so this is all of his stems for the song. So as you can move around and really take advantage of the spatial audio to, hear different things going on.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So this was a fun, like crazy world. And let's see, what's another good space?
And there's of course also a lot of concern about, bad behavior. And we talked about avatars versus real-time video, which I think is a huge step towards authenticity and also some sort of like accountability to protect us in the metaverse. But what are you doing exactly at Nowhere to counteract bullying, bad behavior, and also continue that this remains a safe space?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's going to be continuing to be a challenge, but I think a big step that we took, just being video on, and we encourage people to actually log in and use their real names. It takes a bit of that anonymity away and actually makes it makes you think about what you're saying, and you see people's reactions versus it just being an avatar. So I think that helps a lot. Also, mostly being very event based, we often have like a moderator in the space that's helping people to think about what they're doing, or versus it just being an open public space. So that helps. We also, we definitely have trolls every once in a while, like any platform, that's a badge of
even we had
people caring about it. Exactly. So I think it comes with the territory, unfortunately, to some degree. But we're going to continue to work further on that, but reducing anonymity definitely we've seen help people have better intentions.
We have two amazing questions here in the chat. First of is Jolie's reminding us of Altspace VR, where you had access to captions.
Yeah.
Yes, not around any longer, but there were captions. There were IP bubbles, says Jolie, over speakers' heads. There was auto translation to other languages. Is that something you're working on? These very important accessibility features. Even Zoom now is diving deeply into real-time language translation and captions.
It's definitely something we've been thinking about. We haven't actually integrated that yet. A big thing is actually over half of our user base comes from Brazil now.
Oh, wow.
And so trying to think about how, like if we could do real-time translation to actually give better, to give people a better sense of, be able to communicate across the world. Like I had a drink one time while someone in Hong Kong was having coffee in one of our events, which was super fun. But if someone doesn't speak the language, that's super interesting. And we've had a few language exchanges actually, where that would be helpful.
Why Brazil though?
One of our co-founders is Brazilian, and so she had some connections there. But then all of a sudden, it just seemed like a lot of Brazilians were kind of catching on to it, and we got some good publication there. So,
here's someone.
Hello. Yeah, so you never know who you run into in these spaces.
Floating away, going about his day.
Exactly.
And Sule is asking, Max said built by quote unquote, and giving the example of an event. So events build their own environments using their own team, or is it Nowhere's team? Is it a very complex process to actually get to the stage when you're looking at something like this now, or the amazing audio experience that we had before?
So we have a set of core worlds. I believe we have 12 right now that you can choose from. You sign up for your account and you can immediately choose from one of those core worlds. Then we have a handful of external builder worlds that you could purchase and use. But we put a lot of effort into making, we're really trying to support artists. And so we put a lot of effort into building our 3D world pipeline. So that is all run through Blender and a plugin. We decided to go that way to really empower power users and artists to make more interesting worlds. So this world actually was built as part of a world building competition. This was the winner of that. And so this was, all different people thinking about different ways to create spaces. Basically, if you know Blender or other 3D software, then our plugin basically just makes that export process pretty easy, and you can easily add like the custom frames where you could upload images to, and multiple screens if you want screens. And so, it's really a pretty accessible process, and we encourage more builders.
I mean, if I imagine wanting to host an event, do you have like fixed prices for that? Because if you will go out and book like a ballroom, of course you have a fixed price tag. How do you price something like that?
Yeah, so right now it's free for events up to 50 people. You can go sign up right now and get access to all the basic features. If you want to do live streaming, or if you want to host a bigger event for, we can have up to 150 people per space, and then those spaces can be split out to, and to basically think of like server instances for like game terms. You can host thousands of people that way. Then we start to have, like enterprise pricing or one-offs. The general pricing is about $500 a day for a bigger event, or $2,500 for the week or for the month, and then having a custom world commissioned starts around 10 grand usually, unless you want to build it yourself or do something simple. But That's
Interesting.
that's kind of general pricing.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see money coming to virtual real estate and what it actually means, because of course there's labor behind it, and I think this is on the affordable end of getting your own virtual world. So you can really see that it is you are targeting artists, you are targeting creators, people who do not have vast resources at their hands. And I wanted to ask one last question about this. You have been quoted saying that you think not only this, but augmented reality as a whole is about to explode. So that the fact that experiences like these are even worked into our physical environments through glasses or other ways to interact with them. Why do you think so? And how can you paint for us like how you envision this to play out, let's say in a few years from now, when worlds like these are maybe much more common?
Yeah, so I think AR technology is starting to get to the point that it's getting small enough and powerful enough that it's actually merging our realities and getting a little bit more seamless. Where VR, I feel like it takes you out. There's also a very, you have to be very immersed. It's not a social experience. And the price point is kind of high for the tech. So I feel like it's great for gamers. It has some very important, like commercial uses for training and stuff like that. But ultimately AR, I think that starts to blend our realities and break us out of the screens, so we can actually like move around in our worlds. It can start to, encourage exploration, like we saw with Pokemon Go. People are like walking around and trying to catch stuff in the real world, so you're not just stuck on a screen sitting down all day.
And Jolie just put in the chat, by coincidence, today is actually the official last day of Outspace VR. That is a crazy coincidence. We did not plan on that, but it shows us how fast things are moving. And you're among the next generation of creators. Jolie's also asking if you're planning to integrate haptics into your own world. Are there any plans around that?
We don't currently have plans for haptics, though it's super fun. I'd love to see someone try to figure that out. But what we've been working on recently is integration with Disguise, and they built media servers and like big immersive software, and so they actually released a Metaverse product. And so we're working with Disguise and a group in Brooklyn called Zero Space on that's a big XR studio. So trying to merge those realities of like a physical presence with XR stage and Metaverse.
Fascinating. I want to look at one last thing together with you. Fatima is going to screen share it actually for you, because you are, you grew up in the outdoors. You are an artist, and your partner in life is a dancer and choreographer. And I'm just going to ask Fatima to tune down the sound a little bit. Is a choreographer, and you're doing performances together, live experiences, and they are very physical. It's dance. It has to do with us humans. You touch each other. You can feel the energy in the room, and it's just amazing. So first of all, kudos, congratulations for you both to be such a fantastically creative pair and couple. It's just amazing to have artists like you guys around us. But do you sometimes worry about how the virtual is going to take away from that, and drive people away from the physical?
I mean, technology and society has already pulled humans so far away from the grounding and wonders of nature in the physical world. But I do feel like ultimately there's and I think I've been feeling that recently, that there's a bit of a push back towards actually embracing the world around us a little bit again. So yes, I am worried that it takes away from the physical, but I think there's always a drive for actual human connection and the physical space.
So you think it can peacefully coexist? And I wanted to close before we all get to experience the platform and leave the Zoom for today by just asking you about the future. And Rashad also put that in the chat. What is the future for the independent builders of today? What is on the horizon for your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of push, especially in the Web3 community, for supporting more independent artists and companies. So I am hopeful that there's more spreading of the wealth and it doesn't continue to go to the major corporations. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But all we could do is try to support the smaller groups. Go to a Nowhere or something like that instead of Meta, if you can. Just think about how your choices are impacting the rest of companies in the world. And then what's next for Nowhere? We've been working a lot on letting people getting bigger scale in, so ways that we can get hundreds of thousands of people to watch either from 3D or from a more 2D webinar space that we're working on. That's especially for like bigger performances or webinar kind of things. And then trying to build kind of a quicker ways to get people in and feel comfortable. And we're playing with AI generated skyboxes right now. So or in the next couple of weeks, you should be able to type in a prompt and get a skybox that is all made of this beard.
Skyboxes. So those are floating devices that are created by an artificial intelligence. Did I understand that correctly?
So the skybox is what you saw on the horizon. Right. So like out in the distance, it's a 360 dome image. So right now we just released a feature that you can upload your own skyboxes and you could swap those out. So it really changes the whole feel of the world. And so soon we're going to be able to type in a prompt and then
the whole world, basically the sky, everything changes. I mean, Max, thank you so much for taking us into your world. What I find so amazing about what you just said is that when the Web 2 came around, of course, there were other social networks, but they all got gobbled up pretty quickly. And then it became almost a monopoly, which it still is to this day. I mean, we're all using WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever or Instagram at some point. However, now I feel with Web3, there was such an explosion of creativity because it also came around in a time where a lot of people were just hunkering down at home. And a lot of creators came together independently like you did, that maybe there is a chance to get these microverses to become independent, connected worlds and not just one monopoly. So thank you for giving us that vision today. And thank you also for sharing this beauty that you're creating with your team with us. It's all and everything you can feel. I had my in-ear headphones, so I had a real sensory experience with the sound. And I want to invite you all to be a part of Nowhere in the minutes to come. In a few seconds, Fatima is going to share a link in the chat with you. We have a few rules, so best for you to use is the Chrome browser on a desktop computer or a laptop. Mobile works too. We also recommend headphones because of the amazing spatial audio experience. And we recommend this is also applicable for Zoom. Close your other apps and your tabs that you've opened to not overwhelm your machine. If you're on a Windows machine, you may also have to turn off your camera and other platforms like Zoom to allow Nowhere to access your real-time video. Max, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. And if anyone ever wants to host in Nowhere, just reach out. We're always here to support